This is a safe space for people who want to critique Life of a Showgirl, and in particular the song Wishlist. If you are not open to that, please leave the video now. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend I thought Taylor Swift was the most relatable, down-to-earth celebrity going around. She's been famous for around 2 decades now. She's a billionaire. She's just done the Eras tour. She spends her time on private jets, flying between NFL games and performing out sold-out stadiums. So of course she's not gonna be relatable, but I don't think that necessarily gives her a free pass to be this out of touch. And that's my general feelings about Life of a Showgirl. And I don't want to be too whingy and naggy about this, because I do think sometimes people do over criticize Taylor Swift and put too much on her shoulders sometimes. However, I am a Swiftie. I've loved her music for so long, and there is a lot of joy that comes from being a Swiftie and overanalyzing her lyrics and trying to figure out what she's talking about, and taking comfort in her world building and her stories and her ability to really relate to women of a generation, particularly probably white women of a generation. She manages to really vocalize our concerns and our fears and our dreams and our wants, normally in a really beautiful way. She manages to take us away to fairy tales and folklores and castles and just all these beautifully woven narratives, where it's just the most beautiful whimsical sort of way of describing our emotions and our feelings, but all glitter gel penny. Whether or not we're talking about The Man, which is such a fun critique of the patriarchy, or the whole Folklore album, which just really gave us that very whimsical, beautiful escapism in 2020. But Life of Showgirl, again, taking in the context when it's released, 2025, it just feels really, really flat and really out of touch. And no song gives this more than Wishlist, because I cannot stand this song. I hated it on first listen, and then it came on a couple of times more accidentally, and each time I'm trying to give it another chance, I hate it. I hate it so much. And at first I just thought, okay, well, I'm someone that doesn't want kids, and this just rubbed me up the wrong way, because not only is Taylor Swift talking about wanting kids, but I'm aware that this means she might be going into her next era where she does start that sort of life, and I'll no longer find her super relatable. That's just life, I can't hate a girl for wanting to have those things. But yes, of course I was going to be put off by those lyrics by being just someone that doesn't want children. I'm the whole block looking like you, what the hell are you talking about? No, the wish list part of it just jarred me up the wrong way, where she's just trying her best to make herself seem the antithesis of shallow. And I just, again, it's just about taking the climate of 2025 into the song is just the most out of touch thing. I think I'm just really offended if she thinks her listeners are wanting fat ass of a baby face, if that is our biggest priority this year. And I actually quite like the lyric of the 3 dogs that they call their kids. I find that quite funny and all, but I feel she's just going through different scenes and different people and different wish lists. And I do understand there are some people who care about the more material things and people who do care about raising a dog and living a more out of city life. I know there is just something in all these verses which sounds like she is kind of undercutting these people's dreams and wants. But the fact that she goes through a few different themes of what people want, but never manages to touch on what have been the loudest issues of 2025, it just feels so blatantly out of touch. Why are you trying to write about what people want this year, but you will not mention the Trump administration, you won't mention ICE, you won't mention Palestine, you won't mention the cost of living? And she's I'm just so simple and sweet. All I want is a driveway and a basketball hoop. You already have 8 driveways. What are you talking about? The people listening to this want a driveway. They want to be able to afford a house. But a lot of millennials, a lot of women that listen to her songs aren't even able to get on the property ladder. And she's acting like we're all chasing after these materialistic things, all of which I believe she's experienced or could experience. And that she just wants things that are very much easily within her grasp. And I'm just a bit baffled. And I don't know if I'm the only one taking issue with this and why I find it so jarring. And again, this is just my interpretation. Many interpretations are valid. I just feel there are other people around here thinking, what the hell are you doing releasing this in 2025 and not addressing what's actually on our wish list? We want our leaders held to laws, not lies. No veto power when children die. We want the world to finally realise free Palestine. We want less private jets in our sky, less billionaires pretending they're just like us online. We want it. Oh. And I just feel in this climate, if you critique the private jets and the constant album variants, half the Swiftie community just will call you a hater, will say you don't understand or whatever. Those are really loud and fair criticisms of capitalist Barbie Taylor Swift, especially in 2025, but these have been building since I'd say Midnight's era. So they've been building for years, they've been getting louder and louder, and they're getting louder because we're not getting addressed. There's no concern for her to limit her private jet usage. I understand she is one of the world's most famous people. There are times where I imagine that is pretty important for her safety. But I don't think that's every time she uses it. And to just even have a policy in place that she's transparent about, where she's just like, oh, actually, this is the amount I need to use it for my safety, but these are the times I will choose not to use it because I care about the planet, and I hear that you care about the planet. You know what I mean? Like, there is a middle ground here, guys. We don't need to just say Taylor Swift should not be able to use private jets and every other celebrity can. She really could have set a tone of how celebrities can operate a bit more consciously with private jet usage. And not only is she refusing to do that, but she, I feel like, has charged the way of doing multiple album CD variants, multiple covers for every album. Not only has she pushed to do that and encouraged others to do that for like financial gain, but also for any sort of chance of succeeding on the charts. And it's so ridiculous. And this is why it feels out of touch. It does just feel like this is something her fans have been critiquing on for ages. And it's not the same as when people whinge about who she's dating or how she talks about dating or like the songs she writes things about. She can do whatever she wants, there is no water off my back, but we are all sharing this planet and we are all in a climate crisis, and she is not helping in the slightest. And it is that thing about how one of the things we love about Taylor Swift is that she has been able to capture the concerns of women of her generation, like millennial women in particular. And I would say one of our biggest concerns is the climate crisis. And there are so many people I know who want children but worry about stability, whether or not that's getting onto the property ladder before having children and your like biological clock catching up with you, or it's about like the cost of childcare and how the hell would you afford to have children in this climate, or the fear of raising kids in a world that feels like it's more and more on fire, and not just from the climate, but also from authoritarian governments. Like, it just, there are so many concerns my friends who want children have, and fears and real vulnerabilities there, which would be beautiful to sing about. And I feel like it's a missing spot in mainstream culture. And it was right there, and she decided to sing about how we want fat lips and a baby face and being on yachts under chopper blades, where it's like, we don't want that. We've explicitly told you to fly less, like to give a shit about the environment, and you keep disregarding us, and it's just driving us crazy. And it's not the only song on the album that feels mega tone deaf. And I think some things are getting a bit of unfair heat, like Actually Romantic. I do think it is a pretty mean response to Charlie XCX, but I think Charlie XCX can take it, and I think the song's bop and it's not that mean. I just think Charlie's song didn't warrant it, but it's fine. Like, I just think of all things on the album, I'm not that bothered by that. If Charlie's not offended, I'm not offended. If anything, it could just be a manufactured beef between the two to lift both their profiles. You know, we saw all those years ago when Kanye was making that song about Taylor, he rang her up and like got the all clear before he released it. If we don't think Taylor does that for Charlie, or gets her team to call Charlie and give her a heads up or a green light or something, I would be just shocked. I'm not gonna get that offended over this feud. I am offended over Wishlist. I feel like it is the one song that is referencing the culture of 2025, and she was just on one end of the culture. And again, like I said, she tried to explore different areas in these verses, and none of them seemed to connect with people who are scared about ICE, who are scared about Trump, who are scared about the climate crisis, who are scared about Israel, Palestine, Russia, Ukraine, Taiwan, China. Like, geopolitically, we're in quite a scary time. And, you know, we've not only had mass protests that are being ignored by our governments, but are also being increasingly criminalised by our governments, or at least in the UK they are. I just think we could have done without this song, or done without trying to act like you've got your finger on the pulse of 2025. Like, other songs, I don't think necessarily do that. Like, Wood is all about her partner's genitalia, and I don't want to be taken into that world, but I'm not offended you've created it. If I were Jackson 5, I might be offended by it. Yeah, there's just so much on this album. Cancelled as well, I think even provides a bit more nuance, where I think it's an interesting conversation starter on loyalty and how far you can push it. And I don't know, I haven't fully formed my opinion on that one yet, basically. If you're talking about like Stand By Blake Lively while she's going under excessive scrutiny, like you were subjected to during Rep, fine. The fact that she's saying that she likes her friends cancelled as just hang out with an increasingly mega crowd rubs me up the wrong way as well. And towards the end of the song, she's like, well, if you're not going to be good, be bad better, or whatever the lyric was, and that made me think like, wait, what? But yeah, I really just wanted to get that off my chest about Wishlist. I do just think it's the most out of touch song, and I will just say that the whole album was a bit of a letdown, but not a surprising letdown. If you watch my video on her engagement, where her trying to brand herself as an English teacher was kind of like my final straw, my 13th reason, but not like the whole reason I was mad at her. But it's been building, basically. She's kind of been telling us over the last couple of years what her priorities are. So I'm not so surprised to hear them sung about. It's just quite frustrating. I feel like there were a lot of things that she could have explored on this album which would have been a lot more interesting than what we received on Wood. I thought Cancelled and Father Figure were interesting commentaries on things which have happened in the last couple of years. I also would have loved to have heard just more like showgirl things and more about like what it was like doing the Eras tour, because I'm sure there were some times she just did not want to go on stage, but she had to, and it would have been interesting to hear a song from that perspective and that sort of vulnerability. Like, she had a fan die at one of her concerts and she had to skip a concert due to a security threat. So I think those would have been interesting, vulnerable things that we would be interested to hear about and have some sympathy for, and it would be interesting to have a bit of insight in there and could really give us a perspective on the life of Taylor Swift the showgirl and some sympathy for this billionaire Barbie. And I also would have liked a bit more of a nod to everything the fans did to make her rebuying her masters possible, and maybe that will come with the Vault tracks, Rep and debut on the album. I was expecting a bit more exploration of difficult nature between her and her fans, where she, I assume, is quite grateful of how we really got behind the Taylor's versions and how much we made possible by doing that, but also about how tiresome it must be to have so many fans with so many opinions. I am aware I'm adding to that here, and I don't think we shouldn't be allowed to do this. I just think it would be a difficult side of fame, right? That everyone's got an opinion and everything you do gets scrutinised. But that's the joy of being an artist, right? And releasing things out into the world. I'm interested to see what comes next from Taylor Swift. That I really hated this album. Eldest Daughter, Would, and Wishlist, I can't listen to. The lyrics on Eldest Daughter are just so claggy, just take me back onto the internet and onto social media and onto my phone. Whereas I think like with songs like But Daddy, I Love Him in the past, she has managed to make them so much more mythical and really taking you into like a different setting, but the message is still run clear. And I miss the metaphors, I miss the world building, and I felt like the only showgirl aesthetic she was trying to chase on this album was explicitly Sabrina Carpenter's with like innuendos and words like wet probably written on her like dream board for the album, rather than more classic showgirl motifs I was excited to see her explore. So yeah, disappointing, but a lot of people seem to love it, so I'm glad for them. My TikTok feed is full of criticism for the album as well, and another critique of the album I really feel like you guys should go have a look at is the microaggressions across this album, which I definitely did not spot on first listen, but once it's really highlighted to you, like Opalite, going from an Onyx Night to Opalite. In itself, I was like, oh no, that could just be Day to Night. And then looking deeper at the lyrics and seeing other people look at the lyrics and being like, no, this is about his exes, and his exes were generally black. No, I'm not gonna defend. And there are just a few other things across the album which are giving microaggressions at best. And just another thing I don't like about this Taylor Swift or this album, and even the Life of a Showgirl song at the end, I kind of liked on first listen until someone pointed out it sounded identical to Jonas Brothers' Cool, and now it's just so similar. And I know there are quite a few things across the album where it just sounds so similar to other songs, but like that one I do just find so hard, and I just go listen to Cool. It's just been a very disappointing album for me, and like I said, Wishlist, the worst. It just feels so intentionally casting a blind eye on some of the biggest things that have happened this year, and just some of the biggest concerns of her target audience just being completely ignored. But yeah, I feel like society is getting more and more polarized, and you just get splinters sitting on the fence, and I feel like that is not the word Taylor Swift is looking for. Oh my god. Oh, it's difficult because one, I do feel like deeply about my concerns on this album, but also I don't want to take it too seriously, too deeply, and project a lot of my concerns about the world all onto Taylor Swift and her shoulders. But I'm hoping if there's anyone else that got rubbed up the wrong way about Wishlist are feeling like, finally, someone gets it. So hopefully, if you've also found this song jarring, if there's any particular lyrics that I've missed out, let me know down below. I just really need to get this one off my chest. I would love to have filmed any other video for you guys today, but last few days since the album's been launched, it's just me and like a couple of friends just being like, oh my god, this album. And another thing. There's a lot of regressions in there, and I think if you are someone that has long explored and appreciated the lyricism of Taylor Swift, it can be really disappointing. But I also do just want to say, if people do find this song fun and they find the album fun, it doesn't necessarily mean that I think they're finding things I hate about the album fun. Like, you can still bop along to the songs. I'm sure in 6 months' time, Whittle will be on the radio and I'll be like, oh, damn it got catchy. Yeah, I just think like sometimes in our polarized nature, we can think that if people are enjoying something we don't like, and we don't like it for a really strong, like, political, ethical, moral reason, like someone out here might like Wishlist, not because it's misreading 2025 and purposely drawing a blind eye on political issues. They might just be enjoying it because they like the beat, or they like the idea of having kids with their partner, and are glad to finally have a Taylor Swift song which embodies that, you know. I think we just I just don't want to become like team wishlist, anti-team wishlist, and like believing everyone that likes the song that I hate are embodying all the ideas that I hate as well. Like, let's just calm that. We can have discussions, but let's not always assume the worst with the people we argue with online. Everyone's so punk on the internet. Oh my god. Anyway, I feel like I'm having too much fun hating this album. But anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts. I feel like I'm just waffling now, but I've been waffling since this album's come out. There are so many thoughts on it, and I'd love to hear more of your thoughts, and if there's anything I've like forgotten to cover. Yeah, there are so many tangents I'm sure we could go down from here, so if you want to offload in the comments section in a safe space, let's go for it. If you think I'm a real bitch for doing this video, you're welcome to say that as well. If you think it's actually romantic that I'm hating on Taylor Swift, I'm sure it kind of is. But yeah, my top 3 were and they all come with caveats, but like, I liked Actually Romantic, but that doesn't mean I hate Charlie XCX. When I first heard Opalite, it felt like a real like festive bop, like Christmassy bop, and the more I've learned about like reading deeper into it, has just made me feeling sad and frustrated that one of the very few songs has just made me feel like very sad and frustrated about how it's digging on Travis's exes. I feel very uncomfortable with it now. I like Honey as well. I find that one quite I really like the sound of that one, until one of my friends points out that she started calling women bitches again, even though she used to be so against that when people would use it with her, and like the double standards of it all. But yeah, I'm gonna try and park these feelings, and every time these songs come on, I don't need to go on my soapbox. But just whilst we're in the space of dissecting and critiquing, these are the things I want to say. Thank you for letting me be punk on the internet. I'll try not to talk about Taylor Swift next video.